There we go. Thank you. You just saved me 29 complaints. Where's the recording?
Take it.
Thank you, thank you.
You
All
did
right,
record the first part this morning, correct?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
I hear. I
I
see you're
know I at
shaking.
least reminded you if you recorded or
Oh,
not, a different story.
okay.
Uh-oh. All right, so I don't think I did. So we'll go back and repeat. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. I'm sure I did.
You did. I remember clicking the this is being recorded button.
There we go. There we go. Perfect. Thanks, Melissa. To the rescue twice in one day. All right. So let's jump right in here. I'm gonna share my screen. I have some exciting news to share with you guys. So are you guys familiar with this organization called HIMSS? It's a Healthcare Information Management System Society. For those who don't know, it's the largest healthcare technology group. So if you're working in IT, in healthcare, it is the group to join. So anyway, for the different chapters, we're in the Southern California chapter, and I've been helping on the advocacy side for the past 2014, like 11 years. And we just got notified by HIMSS National that our chapter reached what's called the Change Makers Award, which is the highest award they give for public policy. So just wanted to share that with you as you guys are part of the Southern California region. So it's pretty cool. So if you guys are interested, learning more about HIMSS, advocacy, and whatnot, let me know. We're always looking for more volunteers. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so we were talking about, we finished the estimates before we went on break. You guys still remember that? What are the three types of estimates?
Yes, we do. Oh, you want to
Analysis,
say it? Oh, yeah.
parametric,
Parametric and bottom up.
bottom up. All right, all right. So team task accountability. So this talks about encouraging team members to be self-sufficient, right? Um, Steve Jobs had a great quote, which is, I hire smart people and get out of their way, right? A lot of project management is creating the framework, the environment, the structure, and then getting out of the way, right? Let people do their work. And so here on this slide, you have two charts. One is a Gantt chart and one is a Kanban board. So, okay, I'm gonna give the definition and you guys tell me which one I'm describing. And you can drop it in the chat if you want, okay? So the first definition, again, we're looking at the charts here. This is a visual representation of the schedule as outlined by the task on the right-hand side or the left-hand side, sorry. And the durations represented by the bars in the middle of the chart. Is that a Gantt chart or a Kanban board? Gantt chart. Perfect. Yep. So visual representation, and the keyword is a schedule. So the main point of the Gantt chart is to look at the schedule and duration. So these blue lines here. And what you can do with the Gantt chart is you can see as you're showing this to the team, you can say, okay, write report. So what is it? It's August 15. This just so happens to work for us today. So we can say, all right, guys, it's August 15. So we should be done with preparing outline, and we're in the middle of writing reports, and we're about to start, add graphics. So, all right, and a Kanban board is a visual representation of the task, right? So the focus of the Gantt chart is schedule. The focus of the Kanban board is the task. So usually for the Kanban board, you have the different statuses of the task. So usually from the left to right, you have not started, in progress, reviewed, or in audit, and the last one is completed, right? So the goal is you go from the left side of the Kanban board, and then you move these sticky notes, right? Either true sticky notes, if you're doing this in person, or virtual sticky notes, if you're using an app like Trello, for example, right? So, all right, before we go, which chart is more focused on the schedule? Gantt chart or Kanban? Schedule, there's, yeah, okay. And which chart is more focused on the status of the task?
Man.
Kanban, okay, cool, awesome. All right, retrospective, again, this is a regular check-in, right? And this is more on the agile side. On the waterfall side, what do we call it?
Lessons learned.
Lessons learned.
Lessons learned. Thank you, guys. I know. It's after lunch. I know. I'm 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 fighting the drag of the lunch meal here. So, all right. So for the retrospective, this is a one way of doing it, right? You set the stage, you check in with the activities, hey, here's what we've done, gather and share the data. Here's, metrics of how we did things, and then generate insights. So what do you guys think is working? What needs to be changed? And let's dig into that. And then let's make some decisions as to, again, think of the traffic light. So green is continue or do more of. Yellow, let's make some changes. And red, let's stop, right? So green, yellow, red. Let's make decisions based on that. And then, we close it out and move on. So invite everyone, figure out the topic, look at the data, figure out green, yellow, red, make some decisions, and close it out. So that's one way of doing a retrospective. Again, PMI understands there are different ways, and this is just one of them. All right, so earned value analysis. This is how you look at how do you measure the progress, performance, and financial health of a project. In version 6, there's a whole chapter devoted to earned value analysis. And before BC, before COVID, BC, we would actually, first of all, we would do these classes in person from like 8:30 to 4, right? It was all day on Friday. And we would devote 2 Fridays to the calculations. Because at the time, this was again chapter 6 or version 6. Some people would get 30% of their test questions would be calculations. It was bananas. Now, thankfully, for those of you who aren't too keen on calculations for version 7, that has drastically dropped. So they're not, I know. See, I see Victor there. That has drastically dropped to, you might get pushing it 5 questions, pushing it. Some folks, 1 or 2. So earned value analysis is one of those that we would do calculations for the entire day. I would write problems on the board, and I would call on people to walk up to the board and give them the marker and have at it. The good news is that PMI is now more focused not on your ability to calculate, but more so understanding the terms and understanding what the calculations mean, right? So it's more inference versus the actual math. So we're going to go more into this when we get to cost management. But for today, just to introduce you to this topic, the main thing with earned value analysis is you're trying to compare the activity or the funding that we planned for or allocated for compared to what actually happened, what we completed, or what we actually spent, right? So in very simple terms, you have what was planned on one column and what actually transpired. And earned value analysis is the process of figuring out the difference between the two. You guys still with me? Sounds about right? Okay, cool.
Of course.
Awesome. So, again, don't worry about mastering this right now. This is just, our first view. So, don't get too hung up on it for today. After cost management, then get hung up, but not today. So the first variable that I want to introduce to you guys is called planned value, or PV. So this is the budgeted cost for the work that was scheduled to be completed. So let's say, for example, I'll give you something super easy. Let's say we're building a 4-story building, and each story costs $1 million, right? So 4 stories, each building costs $1 million. Lisette, how much is the entire building?
Sorry, I was taking notes. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. So we're building a 4-story building, and each story is $1 million. How much is it for the entire building?
4 mil.
4 million. So we're not figuring in, parking lot and everything. Just for our purposes, we'll make it super simple. Okay. So everyone still with me? 4-story building, $1 million per story, 4 million. So what is the planned value for each story? So again, planned value is the budgeted cost for the work scheduled for
You said $1 million, right?
$1 million, right? So the planned value is $1 million. Exactly. Now, earned value is the actual work that was completed. So as soon as I finish that 1 story, right, my earned value is $1 million. Right?
Million, yeah. Mhm.
What if I just finished half of the first story? What's my earned value?
$500,000.
$500,000, right? Pretty straightforward. Actual cost is dollars coming out of your pocket, right? So let's say that it cost me 1.5 million, right, to do the first floor for whatever reason. And my planned value is how much again, did we say? 1 million. So planned is 1 million, actual cost is 1.5. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Sorry, repeat your question.
So the planned value
bad thing.
that first
1 million.
floor is 1 million. The actual cost was 1.5. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a bad
A
thing.
bad
Bad.
thing.
That's a really bad thing.
That's that's a horrible thing.
Yeah. I know this is hard after lunch because otherwise you guys were like, wait, what now? But yeah, it's a bad thing, right? So earned value analysis is looking at what was planned, what actually happened, and tell me the story. Is it good? Is it bad? Or is it, as planned? So let's give another example. Sweta. So for that first floor, or actually we're done with the first floor, right? We just said we completed the first floor. So now we're moving on to the second floor. For the second story, we learned some things from doing the first floor, and it actually cost us 800,000 to do the second floor. So Sweta, what can you infer about that? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing?
Good thing because you're getting less, right? 800 compared to 1 million, one store.
Compared to the planned value.
Yeah.
Exactly. So in a nutshell, guys, that's what earned value analysis is about. It's looking at what was planned, what actually happened, and comparing the two and reporting things out. Now, as you learn with Michelle, when you guys get to that chapter, there's probably 20 different calculations related to this. But just know that it's more to arm you with the knowledge, just in case you get asked those questions. But the good news is the probability of you guys having to solve for those equations is really low. More likely than not. And of course, the example I'm giving you is pretty simple, but it will be more along those lines. The key to this is understanding what's not important. What part of the question that's being asked is just noise, fluff, things that you should ignore, right? So if they're asking about cost, for example, they might be throwing in issues with schedule, they might be throwing in issues with quality, right? But you need to focus on the cost if that's what they're asking. So one of the tips that I love to give out is, these questions can be really long. Some of them half a page long, right? So the secret is, one of the secrets, read the last sentence first, right? Because that will serve as your filter as you're reading this, James Patterson novel of a question that they put in front of you. So the last question could be about cost. They might say, are we over or under budget? So guess what? As you're reading the question, and they're talking about quality, or they're talking about stakeholders not agreeing with each other, you can just blur that out. Okay. Fluff, fluff, noise, 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 noise. The planned value for this was $1.5 million. Okay, let me circle that. This is signal, right? And then the actual cost is, they won't give you the number. They'll most likely give you like, for the lighting, it was like, 600,000, or they'll parse it out and you have to add it up. Nothing too crazy, but they just want to know, more than the math, is can you pick out the signal from the noise? And a lot of project management, a lot of management, period, is about filtering signal from noise. Of the data that's coming your way, of the emails that are coming your way, what are the things that you can just glance at? And what are the things that you need to devote your attention, effort, energy to, right? So it's the difference of signal versus noise. And you'll find that as you get questions, especially about earned value, there's going to be a lot of noise trying to confuse you. But read the last sentence first. It will guide you as to what they're looking for. So when you go back to read the question, is this a scheduling question, right? Or is this a cost question? It's really just two. Are you on time? and are you at budget? Those are the two main things, and all the equations are different ways of looking at it. Okay. All right. Any questions before we move forward? Good. Awesome. So again, don't freak out. These are some of the equations. They're not that hard once you get familiar with them. I'll give you some tips. Would you guys like that? Tips
Yes,
to remember?
please.
Okay. All right. Well, Lizette said no, so I'll just skip to the next. Okay, I'm kidding. She did not say no. So for the variance, so there are two main areas in earned value analysis. One is called variance analysis, and the other one is index analysis. So for the variance, so if you're making notes, so you have earned value analysis, write that down. And then you make like, an arrow. One arrow says variance, another arrow says index. You guys still with me? Let me see if I can draw on this thing. Should be able to. Where's that thing where you can draw? Is it, I guess it says draw, right?
I think it's design or something like draw, you can do a line. Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
so
you had
can-
to go through the signal versus the noise of the header there.
Right. So so you can do this, make a line, and one is your variance, and the other one is your index. And sorry for my drawings here. And the variance is then split out into two again, and one is your cost, and one is your schedule. And same thing for your index. So one is your cost, and one is your schedule. Let me stop there. Make sure everyone is with me. You with me, Nick?
Sure.
All right. So earned value analysis is divided into primarily variance and index, and variance is divided to cost and schedule. Same thing with index, cost, and schedule. We're going to go through this slowly. Again, right after lunch. So when we're talking about variance, right? We want to see if something is over budget or under budget, ahead of the schedule or behind the schedule. So I promised you guys some tips to make this easy. The first tip is that, so let's just focus on variance. So for variance, so the first tip is the equation for variance always starts with earned value. So if you look at this, so we have two equations. One is cost variance and the other is schedule variance. Notice that the first part of the equation always starts with EV. You guys see that? Okay. So variance always starts with EV, earned value. Here's another tidbit. Let me erase this one. Awesome. Earned value, the operation, right, is always minus. So here's another one right here. Okay. So minus earned value. So variance is always earned value minus something, right? Are you guys with me? You guys see that? So,
Yes.
cool. Now, variance is divided into two. Let me see, Kyle, what are the two areas that variance is divided into? So, yeah.
Cost and schedule.
Cost and schedule. All right. Did everyone hear that? Right?
Yes.
Carol, you're good, Carol? You good? Okay. So to solve for the equation, if we're talking about cost variance, right? We're talking about cost variance. We already figured out the first two components of our equation. We said that all variance equation starts with what?
Earned value.
Earned value. And the operation is always
Minus.
minus. So if we're talking about cost variance, you have two choices. One is called, okay, let me clean this up now. 1 second. So you have two options. So when you're talking about cost variance, there's only two options. One is AC, which stands for actual cost. And one is PV, which stands for planned value. So without knowing anything or without even hearing, the last 15 minutes of what I'm talking about, what do you think you should add to this equation if we're talking about cost? Do you need actual cost or planned value? We're talking about cost variance.
Cost.
Actual costs.
Actual cost.
Actual cost, right? So
Mhm.
if we're talking about schedule, so again, for earned value analysis, we said for variance, the first part of the equation is always
Earned value
earned value, and the
minus
operation is
something.
always
Minus.
minus. So for schedule, are we gonna use actual cost or planned value?
Planned value.
Planned value, right? So even if you forget, right, how to do it, if you just remember, oh yeah, it always starts with earned value. Oh yeah, it always starts with minus. What are we asking again? Schedule. Okay. Well, they only got two options. One says cost, which is money, and one says plan. So, well, schedule is about planning, so it has to be this one. Do you see where I'm going with this? So even if you forget, you freak out like, oh, I don't like equations. But wait, what did Ian say again? You can figure it out. You can cobble it up. So you don't have to remember this, right? You just have to understand. So, let me erase all of this. All right. So cost variance. So let's stick with our example of the 4-story building cost variance. So we're looking at, so now we're done with 2 stories. Remember our story, right? We finished the first story. How much did it cost us for the first floor?
1
1
million.
million.
No, that was the
1.5.
plan. That was the
1.5.
plan.
Oh,
1.5.
Yeah, the actual cost was 1.5. Okay,
And-
that was messed up. But we learned, right? We learned when we got to the second floor. What was the planned value?
I think
800K.
it was 800.
100,000.
You have to listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah,
One
plan.
million.
Plan
1 million.
value.
It was
It
1
was
million.
million.
1
million.
million.
1
1
million.
million. This is where the test will get you guys. Yeah, so you have to pay attention to what's given because they'll intentionally try to make it hard for you to understand. Oh, and by the way, they won't just come at you and say earn value. They'll say, or not earn value, sorry. They won't come at you and say plan value. They'll say the agreed upon budget for the first floor is, right? So the agreed upon budget, is that actual or planned?
Planned.
Planned, right? So again, I'm really trying to emphasize the meaning of the terms because they're not just going to come at you and spell it out. They're going to use words like, yeah, there was a board meeting and they all agreed to spend $1 million on each floor. But then you have to remember, okay, that's planned value. That's what we're planning. So, all right. We said on the first floor, we spent 1.5. Who wants to hold the calculator for us? Who wants to do the simple math here? Ebenezer. Did I pronounce that right? Ebenezer.
Yeah,
So Ebenezer, how about you be our resident calculator today? Is that okay?
sure.
Awesome, awesome. So first floor was 1.5. Second floor, what was the actual cost? You guys remember?
800.
800,000.
800,000. Okay, so now my question for you, my good people, is what is, right, the actual cost for the first two floors? So how do we figure that out? Actual cost.
Here's 300K to hold.
1.5 plus 8.
There you go. So Ebenezer, 1.5 plus 800,000 gives us
23,000. 2.3 million.
2.3.
Man, I'd love to hire you as my developer. 23,000. Here we go. 2 floors. All right. So 2.3, right? 2.3. Okay. Have that in your back pocket. So what is 2.3 at this point? Look at all the letters on the screen. What is 2.3?
Your actual cost. AC.
Actual cost.
AC, right? Actual cost. All right. So for the 2 floors, what was the amount that was approved for these 2 floors?
2 mil.
2 million. And which letter is that on this screen that we're looking at? What is 2 million? That represents what?
PV, plan value. Wait, no.
The plan value, so PV,
Earn value, EV.
So, okay. So the amount that was allocated for both buildings, right? Was, I mean, for floors, so it's 1 million and 1 million. And so let's assume, right? So let's assume that we completed both floors, right? So we complete both floors and each floor was worth 1 million. So we completed 2 floors, right? So that is how much? 2 floors is 2 million. We
2
completed
million.
it.
budget is 2 million.
So 2 million is our earned value,
Earned
right?
value.
We're looking at cost for right now. So 2 million. Ebenezer, what was our actual cost?
2.3 million.
2.3.
Okay. Without doing the math, right? Are we over or under budget?
Over.
Yes.
Over
Over
budget.
budget, right? We're over budget. So, as I said, just by reading the question and figuring out the given, the math is the easiest part of it, right? So 2 million minus 2.3, so we're at negative 300K, right? So we're hoping that by the time we finish the third and the fourth floor, we can have some savings there to make us whole. Does that make sense? Okay, thanks, Melissa.
Ian, I'm so sorry. I'm not sure if I'm the only one, but for that calculation, you
Right.
said EV, the earned value is 2 million.
Yeah.
And can you explain how earned value is 2 million? So plan value is 2 million, right? Because we know that it's 1 million per floor. But then
Right.
we also said that the first floor took, it was like 1.3 million or 1.5 million was the first floor took 1.5 million, the second floor was 800,000.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
when you
those were the actual costs.
actual,
So, yeah.
so I guess how does EV and PV differ then?
Sure. So,
Thank you.
so the PV is what was agreed upon. This was the plan. We're gonna spend $1 million per floor, right? So as you complete each floor, right? Because remember, EV is earned, right? So earned value. So as you complete each floor, what is the value of each floor?
Oh, I see.
$1 million, right? So as I complete that, so I complete the first floor, my earned value is the budget amount for the actual work that has been completed, right?
Got it,
So once you
got it.
complete it, so now we completed the first floor. What's the earned value for the first floor?
1 million.
1 million. But let's say that I only completed half of the floor, right? Let's say that we were supposed to do it in a month. I only completed half. What's my earned value?
500,000.
500,000, exactly.
Got it. Okay.
So, yep.
Thank
So
you.
now we completed both floors. So now my earned value is
2 million.
2 million. However, our actual cost is
2.3.
8.3. And it's because Kelly decided to have really expensive lunches during lunch break and invites everyone to go to Mastro's for lunch, and it added up. So it wasn't the cost of the cement, it was Kelly's steaks and lobster. So that's what's caused the overage here. So there you go. So
it's worth it then.
it was worth it.
Yeah, I think we could let that slide.
It was worth it. Yeah. Well, if you get the size of the cream of corn and cream of spinach, then absolutely. So yes, so the actual cost is the actual dollars that came out of your wallet. So that is cost variance. So now, before I proceed to schedule, does everyone understand what cost variance is trying to figure out? Everyone good with cost variance, right? We're trying to figure out if we're over, under, or exactly on budget. The second is schedule variance, right? Are we ahead of schedule or are we behind schedule? So let's say that your EV we only completed half, so that's 500,000, let's say for a month, right? So we only completed half for a month. We're supposed to be completed entirely the first floor in that month. So 500,000 minus the planned value. What's the planned value for each floor again? You guys remember? Each floor is
$1 million.
$1 million.
million. So 500,000 minus $1 million is negative 500. So are we on schedule or behind schedule?
Or behind.
Behind. Yep. Because we didn't finish, right? We didn't finish the entire floor in the time that was allocated. So now let's say we got, super eager, super excited, and for whatever reason, we completed a floor and a half in a month. So now our EV is 1.5. The planned value, right? Because we're still, we're supposed to just finish one floor, but we finished, 1.5. So now it's 1.5 minus 1 million. So now we're in positive 500K. So that means that we're ahead or behind schedule? Ahead of schedule, right? Because we exceeded what was expected of us. So variance is just simply that. Under budget, over budget, ahead of schedule, behind schedule. And what's the first part of this formula? It's always for variance,
EV
EV, and the operation is always
Minus.
minus.
And if we're talking about cost variance, are you
Yes.
going to use actual cost or planned value?
Actual cost,
And we're talking about schedule, are you going to use actual cost or planned value?
plan value.
And
There it is. Yep. So that is your earned value analysis variance equation. Now let's move on to the index. So again, now that you know some of our secrets with variance, guess what? When it comes to index, it's the same thing. Both of them start with EV. Notice that right here, right? Both of them start with EV. Can you guys see that? Now the difference is when it's an index, the operation is division, right? Because it's a ratio. So it's a ratio. So it's for cost performance index, it's EV divided by AC. And for schedule performance index, it's EV divided by PV. But notice something else. What's the difference between cost variance and cost performance index in terms of the formula? There's only one difference.
one is subtraction, the other one is
The operation.
And the other one is
Division.
division. That's it. That's it, right? So you just change this guy, change this to division, and now you're talking about index. That's it, right? Same thing with schedule performance index and schedule performance variance. What's the only difference?
Operations.
Operation, right? So now that you know all of this, is it that hard? Not really, right? So those are things that you need to remember. And if you remember just everything we talked about in the past 15, 20 minutes or so, that's 80% of earned value analysis. The other equations, maybe 20% if it comes up at all. This is the bulk. It's variance and index. An index, you're just looking at a percentage. They want to know, so if you're right on the money, let's say, for example, let's go back to our building. So we finished the first floor. What's the earned value after we finish the first floor?
1 million.
1 more million.
All right. And let's say the actual cost was exactly
1.5.
that. No, we're going to change the equation. So let's say our actual cost is 1 million, right? So earned value 1 million, actual cost 1 million. So 1 million divided by 1 million, what does that give you?
1.
1, right? So in terms of percentages, 100%, right? 100%, like
100%.
right on the money, right? Right there. So 1. So your CPI is 1, and that is amazing, but also impossible, right? No one finishes, the budget for the first floor is 1 million. No one finishes at 1 million. You might be, a few dollars less, a few dollars more, but you see what I'm getting at. So theoretically, that perfect line. But in reality, you might be, hopefully just a few dollars under or over. Now, let's say that, again, sticking with the first floor, $1 million. Now our actual cost, going back to our example earlier, 1.5, right? So 1.5. So first of all, is that index going to be good or bad?
Bad.
Bad, right? Ebenezer, can you do the math for us? 1 million divided by 1.5 million. What's our index? Did he go away? Anyone else? What's the answer?
person.
0.67, right? So, all right. Are you guys liking this topic right now? Should we continue more? Or do you want me to? Because we're gonna get back to this, but if you guys are locked in, then I can continue and we can go into the analysis of this if you want. Let me know. Continue? Continue?
Let's say let's
Okay.
keep going.
All right, good. No worries, Ebenezer. So, and the reason I ask because you know, we go into more detail when we get to cost, but since you guys are locked in, I'll just dictate the analysis of this. So let's do it one by one. So cost variance. So a cost variance that is positive, meaning let's give an and when you write this out, write the examples, it's going to help you as well. So let's say EV is 1 million, actual cost 800,000. So the answer is
200,000.
okay. So for our purposes today, say positive or negative. So
Okay.
positive
Positive.
100,000, right? So for cost variance, if the answer is positive, that is a good thing, right? Positive is a good thing, right? So write that down. For cost variance, if your answer is negative, that means that you're over budget. So that is a bad thing, right? So cost variance, if your answer is positive, that means that you're under budget, sorry, and that is a good thing. And if cost variance, the answer is negative, that means that you're over budget, that's a bad thing. Everyone get that? Same thing with schedule variance, right? So schedule variance, the same rules apply. If you are positive, that means that what you've completed, earned value, is more than what was expected. So let's just say, for example, you completed in the time frame of, let's say, 30 days. You completed a story and a half, so that's 1.5 million, right? Minus 1 million, because we just said we'll complete 1 floor in this 30 days. The 1.5 minus 1 is positive 500,000. So positive means that you're ahead of schedule, and that's a good thing. However, if our earned value was, say, 500,000, and we're supposed to complete the first floor, so minus the planned value of 1 million, so that means that you're negative 500,000. So that means that you're behind schedule, right? Because you didn't finish the entire floor. So that is a bad thing. So let me stop right there. Did everyone get the analysis of the cost variance and schedule variance depending on your answer?
Yes.
Awesome. Anyone else need me to repeat it before we go to index? Kelly?
I just have a question to make sure that I'm conceptualizing this right. Like, I
Yeah.
think maybe I'm still like trying to conceptualize planned versus earned. Like, is it
Yep.
flawed to think planned is like the estimated cost of like the labor versus earned value is like the actual, not actual cost, but like that's how much of the labor was completed?
So think of, so plan is always what we anticipate, what was approved, what we think it will be, right? So that's planned. earned value is what we completed. So let's say, remember we went back to the first floor is a million, right? So if you complete the first floor, it's a million. But if you only finished half of the first floor, right? So your earned value, you only earned half of what was planned. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay.
So that's why it's 500,000. So by the time we complete the first floor, you've earned the entire floor, which was valued at, what do we say the value was of the first floor?
$1 million.
$1 million. There you go. Good question, Kelly.
Okay. No, I think, yeah, just saying anticipated kind of cemented it for me. So thank you.
No worries. And again, this is the first time most of you are doing this, so it's completely understandable. Now, the good news is, since we spent all this time on this today, by the time we get to cost analysis, hopefully it'll be a breeze. All right.
Oh, Ian, so a
Yep.
quick question. So I think I'm understanding now because in the first example you provided, you said the earned value after you complete one floor was $1 million, right? Which it's assuming that you completed a whole floor on time.
Yes.
So the earned value ends up being equal to the planned value. So the schedule variance would be 0.
There you go. Look at that.
Okay.
Look at that. I'm gonna go on break and have nailed it, man. Nailed it.
No, okay, yeah, because it was at
Absolutely.
first it was like is EV always equal to PV, but it's not. It depends. I
No.
see. I understand. Okay.
So E, you have to earn. You have to complete it. You have to do it. You have to check it off. And a plan is what we budgeted for it. So perfect. All right. Any other questions for variance before we jump to index? All good. All right. So index, if your index is equal to exactly 1, then that means that you are, if it's cost, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. So let's say EV, remember the first floor, $1 million, right? We completed the first floor in 30 days, so it's $1 million, and our actual cost was exactly $1 million. So 1 million divided by 1 million equals
1.
1. So you're perfect, 100%, right? 1, perfect. So that is amazing. Impossible, but amazing. Now, let's say that your earned value, right? We finished the first floor. What's our EV after we finish the first floor?
$1 million.
$1 million. And our actual cost was, let's say, 800,000, right? So let's have Alicio, you be our calculator. So 1 million divided by 800,000 gives us what?
1.25.
1.25. So for the index, 1 and anything more than 1 is a good thing. Just write it down for now. 1 and anything more than 1 is a good thing, right? Means you're very efficient. Now let's give another example. So we finished the first floor. What is the EV, guys? After we finish the first
1 million.
1 million. But our actual cost, again, those lunches, is 1.5 million. So let's do the math.
60.67.
0.67. Okay. So for your notes, anything less than 1 is a bad thing. That means that you're not efficient. That makes sense? So for the index, 1 and anything more than 1 is a good thing. Anything less than 1 is a bad thing. That means you're not efficient. And the same thing goes for schedule. It's the same thing. Does that make sense? Cool. So let's do this before we move on. Alicia, can you help me understand cost variance and what does it mean? In your own words. What
Well,
are
it
we
shows
doing with cost variance?
your cost variance. Well, you know, are you greater or equal to your EV?
But talk to me like a human being. So what does
Well, that's what it means to me.
So I just walked into your classroom. I'm looking for the restroom, and I'm like, oh my God, this looks very interesting. What does cost variance mean?
So if your EV is what you had planned or the value of it, say the first floor is $1 million, and then you have your actual cost in relation to it, it's either going to be good or bad.
All right, let me ask it a different way. What are we trying to figure out? When we're looking at cost variance, what are we trying to figure out?
We're
Whether
trying
you're
to
The
see if
difference
it's
over or under budget.
Over or under budget.
If we're over or under budget, absolutely it. So now I can go find the restroom, right? Because I just accidentally came into your class and I'm like, oh my God, earned value analysis. This is super interesting. So thank you for saying that, right? So for a man on the street, that definition is something that they can understand, right? So cost variance, we're looking at if we're over and under. How about schedule variance? Jeffrey, what are we trying to figure out?
If your project's behind or ahead of schedule or right on time.
Okay. So if my answer is negative, is that am I ahead or behind schedule?
Behind schedule.
Behind schedule. Thank you so much. And Jennifer Ng, did I get it right?
Yes.
Jennifer Ng, what's this whole business about cost performance index? What are we trying to figure out?
The cost efficiency.
What does that mean? I didn't go to school. What does efficiency mean?
It means that if you are greater than 1, you are more cost efficient.
Okay, so I'm using my resources frugally better, right? So I'm making the most. The efficiency is making the most of the resource, right? Whether it's time or money. So, all right, Kenny, if my cost performance index after I do the math, if it is 1 or more than 1, is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Your cost performance index, if it's 1, it's good. If it's below 1, it's not.
If it's above 1,
If it's above 1, you're
2 thumbs up. All
2
right.
thumbs up. Yes.
Carol, schedule performance index. If the answer is below 1, what does that mean?
Oh, then you're done. That's not good.
Am I ahead of schedule? Am I lagging?
You're behind schedule.
Behind schedule. That's absolutely right. Cool. And with that, it's time for our break. But before we go, was this helpful, guys? Okay, good.
Very.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
No worries. And again, not all slides. We're going to spend 40 minutes, but this was 80% of cost management right here. So just think to yourself, you know, we might not finish all 133 slides today, but you bought yourself a lot of time when we get to cost management. So we'll come back at 3:12.
Can you leave the slide up, please? If possible.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Almost there, guys. Cool. Any questions before we move forward?
No
All right.
questions.
All right. So moving on. So we talked about evaluating the value of the work that was performed. Here we're talking about evaluate demonstration of task accountability, determine how to track and manage task accountability. And so going back to these guys, it shows you, how we're doing and who is accountable for what task, either that's lagging behind and congratulating those that are ahead of schedule or under budget. Now, one of the tools that is mentioned and used frequently is the work breakdown structure. Not a tool, it's actually it's a document. I'm sorry. So the work breakdown structure, it's what the actual term defines. You're breaking down a big task into smaller tasks. So for example, let's say the project is building a house. So the work breakdown structure would be, creating the foundation, putting the walls up, putting a roof on top of it. Does that make sense? And then you can break that down into even more tasks, right? So let's say, putting the foundation, first you have to dig a hole, right? So as you start out with a big project, let's say build a home, and underneath that you have, the major activities that you're doing, put a roof, wall, foundation, and then you can go even smaller into the task for each section. So that document is called the work breakdown structure. Does that make sense? You're just breaking down from big task to smaller task to a point wherein you can work on it. So the question is, how small do you break it down to, right? And the answer is, there is no definitive answer, but the recommendation is you break down the task no smaller than 8 hours or 1 day, and no bigger than 2 weeks, right? So it's the it's called the 880 rule. So no smaller than 8 hours and no more than 80 hours. So that's under your work breakdown structure, right? So if your tasks are still to complete it, it still takes more than 2 weeks, then you can break that down even more. But if your task is at, let's say, a day, then you're good. Stop right there. You don't need to break it down to less than that. So for the work breakdown structure, in your notes, write down the 880 principle. So the task should be no smaller than 8 hours to complete, or no bigger than 80 hours or 2 weeks. Jennifer Mansourian, does that make sense? You look no? Okay. So as you're creating a schedule, right, the schedule has different tasks. So let's say, let's stick with that house example that we talked about. So let's say that building a roof takes, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks, right? So with the 880 principle, is 3 weeks more than 80 hours? If you just assume a work week is 40 hours and 2 weeks is 80 hours, so 3 weeks is 120.
120.
There you go. So using the 880 principle, that means that we need to break it down more because it's more than 2 weeks, right? So you can't just say, build a roof. That's too big of a task with our 880 principle. So now let's break it down into smaller parts. So I don't build houses, so I'm guessing you have to put the wood at some point. Put the frame on, and let's say the frame is about a week. So, okay, does that putting the frame, the wooden frame, does that fit into our 880 principle? If it takes a week,
Yes.
Yes.
right? Because how many hours is that?
40.
40, and 40 is within the 880. So Jennifer, does that make sense now? Yes, okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I just saw that bewildered look on your face. I wanted, okay, let's circle back. So there it is. So 880, again, just a recommendation, not a absolute law of physics or anything.
Okay, but question, you said 880 and you said 3 weeks for a roof. And you said the frame would take a week, so that's 40 hours. And
Yeah.
then you have so the frame, I guess the frame and then the wood panels, I guess that's all the part of the first week. And then the rest of the roof, the tiles, I guess would be the second part of the week.
Yes.
So that would make it, okay, perfect.
Correct. Yes. So, that you're absolutely right, Kenny. So as long as, and the roof could take, if it has like solar panels, maybe that takes, I don't know, 2 months. So then you have to break it down so that it fits into that. The task needs to be within that 8 and 80. So let's say the solar panels take 2 weeks, so that's right at the cost. So you can say insert a crate or installed solar panels, right? So that's 80 weeks. So again, just a recommendation. Don't break it down too small that you have to track too many things, but don't leave it too big or too high level that you don't know when you're running late, right?
So the task,
Yep.
so it's a single task of
Yep.
the roof,
Exactly.
not the complete roof.
No.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's say the project is build a house. Underneath that project, you have your main task. One of them, let's say, is build a roof, and the subtask under build a roof is create the frames underneath it and install, the actual tiles, and then we said there's solar, so install the solar panels. So all those sub items underneath create a roof, all of them should be less than 2 weeks, but more than 1 day, more than 8 hours. So
Got it. Thank you.
awesome. So I have a slide, not today, that talks about the different sizes and work packages and all of that. So for today, suffice it to say that as you're looking at task accountability, you want to make sure that you assign the work in what's called work packages. And all that means is that it's easy enough to identify the beginning and end of it. Like if you give someone a task and they don't understand when it's completed, then that is very confusing for someone. So let's stick with our example of the roof. If you just say, hey, finish a portion of the roof's frame, is that clear? No, right? Because a portion could be a small portion, big portion, half of it. Like, what does portion mean? So the work packages is intended to encapsulate, the body of work that you're asking of them. So if you do that, then you can, track accountability. Without that, you can't say if they did it properly or not, because what does a portion mean, right? So for Agile, the team handles task identification and tracking as part of the iteration process. So you give them, here's what we expect to complete. Let's say the sprint is 2 weeks, and then the team figures out, how to run with it, right? So, and we'll talk more about that once we get to Agile.
Just a quick question. So
Victor, you
how
had a question?
so in regards to like the roof example,
Yeah,
it was so big we broke it down to smaller. So
absolutely.
so the inverse works too, right? If it's too bunch of little tasks, you would bundle those up.
Yes, you make it bigger till it becomes 8 hours or 1 day.
Got it.
So that's the 880. If it's less than a day, make it bigger, bundle smaller things up. So let's say, gather the nails, gather the wood, climb up the roof, bundle all of that up, and then, you can call it assemble materials or something, right? So yeah, so no less than 1 day and no more than 2 weeks. So that's the 880. A good question, Victor. All right. So when you give team members responsibilities, if they're responsible for the outcome, they should have the authority to carry out the work and also make decisions within that scope. Does that make sense? What happens sometimes is that project managers and managers as a whole, they tend to micromanage. And when you micromanage, that means that you take away the authority of the resource to make decisions within that scope. And guess what? When you do that, the team member is no longer responsible for the outcome because you made all the decisions, right? So it's very important that if you give people responsibility, your team members, right, to responsibility for the outcome, they should have the authority to make decisions to complete the work. Because again, before you assign a task to a team member, you want to make sure that that's within their KSA. What was KSA again? Knowledge, skills,
Abilities.
and A is a lot. It could be ability, attitude, aptitude, but knowledge, skills, and let's just say aptitude, right? So before you assign a task, you basically know that they can do it, right? So you won't assign Melissa, for example, to do coding if she doesn't know coding, or Kenny to finish the roof if he's never done it before, or Victor, let's say, to work on a turbine engine if that's not his training. So, so if you assign a task, they're responsible for the outcome. Give them the authority to make decisions within that scope. All right. No worries, Ebenezer. Thank you for letting me know. And just looking at the chat. Okay, no worries, Jennifer. Awesome. That was a big chunk. Thank you guys for allowing us to plow through that. We covered a lot, although it doesn't seem like it with the slides, but that was a lot that we covered in terms of cost and the team members' assignment and responsibilities. Now we're moving on to, again, if you're following along, creating a high-performing team, and the subtopic is training team members and stakeholders.
Ian, I have a question.
Go for it.
I just want to make sure I understand. So For the 880 rule,
Yes.
so I wrote down break down a task if it takes no less than 1 day and no more than 2 weeks to complete. Is that accurate?
So almost. So you want to break down a task so that it's more than a day, but no more than 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Day.
So 8 refers to the 8 hours in a day, right?
Right.
And then 80 refers to the 80 hours in 2 weeks. So 1 day to 2 weeks.
Okay.
You don't want it too small. Imagine if you're building a tower and the tasks are like, 4 hours or 2 hours. Your project plan would be 3,000 lines long. But also you don't want your project plan to have 5 lines. Build a tower, paint the tower. But put in the computers in the tower, right? So no more than 2 weeks and no less than 1 day. Thank you guys for asking. Okay, so train team members and stakeholders. Deliverables for training would be your training plans, the training estimates, the calendar, when are you doing the training assessments, and then once everything is done, you have your certifications, right? So pretty straightforward. Again, stop me if you have any questions. And the tools, training gap analysis, right? So what is it that they're supposed to learn, and how are their test scores doing, right? The actual training and pairing and mentoring. The buddy system for any training, anything new is very, very helpful. I would recommend for you guys, if you haven't already, find someone in the cohort, um, either 2 or 3 of you, group together, and then just make each other accountable, help each other out, create your own Teams chat. So find a buddy or a pair. So you have a little cohort. So let's say Victor, Kenny, and Melissa. So the 3 of you are making sure that you're following through, you're reading the assignments, you're doing the practice test, and it really helps. It's the same thing as, imagine you're going to the gym, right? Imagine you're going to the gym by yourself to do, I don't know, upper body today. Okay. Now imagine you're going to the gym with a personal trainer. Which instance will you be working out more? You by yourself or you with a trainer? Definitely with a trainer.
How much does the trainer cost?
That's a good question. Same thing with, you're planning on hiking on Sunday. You're planning on doing it by yourself. You're planning on doing it with 2 other buddies. Which
Buddies.
one has a higher probability that you're actually going to show up for the hike?
I think buddies.
Having the buddy. So that's the same principle here. Having study buddies forces you to show up for your, if you guys have, a weekly connect 30 minutes, or if the team, let's say Sweta is like, hey guys, I'm doing my 20, test questions today. What are you guys doing? And Eliseo, let's say, wasn't planning on doing it, has a long day, but Sweta's doing it, Victor's doing it, like, okay, I'll do my 20, right? So that is the power of pairing and mentoring. So make sure that you take advantage of that for this cohort. All right, training and coaching. I have a question for you guys, and this isn't on the test, just want to get your thoughts. When you hear the word coaching versus mentoring, what's the difference between the two? in your own words.
Um,
More
okay.
hands-on, like coaching, like they kind of guide you step by step.
And what was the mentor?
I think someone that kind of,
Verbalizes more.
yeah, kind of gives you guidance, but not so much step by step. I could be
No, again, it's not on the test. This is a topic that I'm super interested because you have, personal coaches and you also have mentors. So I'd love to, figure out from you guys what you think about it.
I think
Is
that
mentoring is more like long term.
Okay.
Coaching can be time wise, shorter term, depending on what the out or what you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I see envision like a coach is like specific to like a task or ability or something, whereas a mentor is like an over like it's like a holistic helper, kind of, someone that's there throughout all aspects of your life or whatever.
Yeah, I think coaching is specific to a task and already having known the outcome. We're coaching you through this, knowing the outcome already. And then mentoring is allowing you the autonomy to still kind of
Ooh, I love
venture out a
that.
little bit. And mentoring is just more, I wouldn't say advice, it's the wrong word, but it's still giving you the autonomy to kind of get out of the rails, if you will, or route. So
Got it.
you don't have so much of the outcome yet. Versus coaching, you have an outcome, you have the task, you know what you're doing.
I love the definitions. And again, there's no right or wrong, right? But what resonates with me personally is that coaching is very outcomes driven and task specific.
Right.
So for example, I signed up for my first triathlon, but I couldn't swim 20 meters to save my life. So I hired a swim coach or a swim mentor.
Mhm.
Which one? Swim coach or swim mentor?
Coach.
Swim coach, right? And will the swim coach be interested in how I'm doing in my family life?
He might, because it could help you swim better.
Swim away from my family. But 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 typically not, right? They're just there very specific. I'm gonna help you in my case at that time, swim in open water for 1.2 miles, right? So it's very specific. And then they're looking at very specific things like your what do you call it? The cadence of your strides, positioning of your head, all those things. A mentor is someone that I think Cinderella said it, is looking at more holistic, right? How are you doing as a person? Now, it could be broken down into a financial mentor, like overall, how are you doing in your finances? But it's more holistic and typically can be more long term. So, so I asked that because they don't, PMI doesn't really give like definitive, here's what a coach is. But I'm always interested in what you guys think about those terms. So, question for you guys. How many of you have a coach or a mentor that you're working with today? Does anyone have one?
I just finished the 4-month course on leadership training.
Oh, nice. Thanks, Lucio. Melissa?
I have a mentor.
Mentor. Okay, cool. Overall or in a specific area?
Overall, it was,
Overall.
I think, originally kind of focused in one area, but now kind of has transitioned into overall.
Perfect. So my homework for you, not related to the test, is to find an area in your life that you think you can do better at, and find someone who's doing better at that already, and then ask them, hey, would you mind being my coach in this area? Or would you mind being my mentor in this area? Because the fastest way to go from where you are and where you want to be is having a coach or a mentor, because they will tell you your blind spots. And that is the biggest thing in coaching and mentorship. Because as the term implies, blind spots are areas of your life that you don't see, but your coach and mentor can clearly see. For example, in swimming, there's no way for me to see that my left side is pulling more than my right side. But since my coach is standing above me, then he can clearly see it. So same thing with areas in your life. Now, so that's assignment number 1. Assignment number 2 is actually find someone either in your group, your circle, church, community, organization that you can also coach and mentor. Because here's the thing, as you mentor and coach people, you actually learn more about it as well. And you become better. So it's one of these amazing things when it comes to coaching and mentoring. Kenny, I see you nodding your head. Have you coached folks before or had a coach or? Oh, you're on mute, Kenny.
Yes, I coached Little League football for years, and then I
Oh, there
also
you go.
ran the league for years. So yeah, it is a good experience.
Awesome. So I'd love for you guys, I'd invite you to get a coach, get a mentor, and also be a coach and be a mentor. So training and coaching plan, you have to look at the schedule, make sure that things are on time. Perform gap analysis. Again, the KSA, knowledge, skills, and attributes. Consider upskilling or certification for team members, especially if it's a long project or if the project is net new. Like again, way back when Epic was super new, we sent everyone to some sort of Epic certification. So plan for diversity training and coaching offerings. So again, if the project is long enough, you can look for ways to, and it doesn't have to be super formal, right? As I said earlier, let's say Victor is really good at Python, for example, and Cinderella wants to know, just partner up and say, 30 minutes, Zoom, like, hey, can I be on the call when you're working on this? And then just, informally learn by being exposed to it. All right. T-shaped skills. So what this means is that if you look at this picture, so the horizontal line or the x-axis, if you will, is the breadth of knowledge. So people who are, wider in terms of their knowledge, these people are called generalists, right? You with me? And then people who are more vertical or have more of a depth of knowledge, that resource is called a specialist. So write it down for the notes. People or resources with breadth of knowledge are called generalists, and people who have depth of knowledge are called.
Did you say specialist?
Specialists. Thank you. Generalists and specialists. Yep. All right. So again, we're looking at training. We're talking about competencies. Again, competency includes knowledge, skill, and attributes or attitudes or aptitude for the letter A, KSA. And the reason this is very important is because during the Industrial Revolution, where we started to work in factories, we were so obsessed with output. As we looked at employees, the focus was truly knowledge and skill, right? Can you do this task? Can you cut this piece of metal to form this perfect shape? Can you teach this syllabus? So everything was just, can you do this? The part that was missing was the letter A, the attitude, the aptitude, the willingness to do it. And what happens is, even if you're the most knowledgeable, even if you're the most skilled resource, if you don't have the right attitude, what happens to team dynamics?
What was the question again? I'm sorry.
So as you're looking at team members, before, people only looked at the knowledge and skill, right? Do they know how to do it? And then can they execute? The part that was missing was the letter A, which is your attitude, your attributes.
Right.
So my question is, what happens when you have someone that's very knowledgeable, very skilled, but doesn't have the right attitude? What happens to the team dynamics?
It goes down. It goes down, yeah.
What happens to the culture?
Morale goes down, performance is impacted. People
Right.
become disengaged, and the
Yeah.
overall success of the project is impacted.
Absolutely. So when I look at team members, or if I'm looking at resumes, interviewing people, I actually go more with how well they are at getting along, how well they are at answering questions that they don't know. Do they double down and pretend they do, or do they say, I really don't know that, but I'm happy to, research, understand, know more? Because skills can be learned. Character needs to be built, right? You can learn skills, but you need to build character. So it's easier to find someone with the right character and skill them up versus someone with the right skills, but has the, lacking in character, so to speak. So that's not on the test, but just through hundreds upon hundreds of teams that I've helped put together, it's rarely the skill or the knowledge that causes the team to fail. It's almost always their attitude and relationships and ability to communicate with one another. So KSA, knowledge, skill, attitude. Attitude for me is the most important one. All right. Different stakeholders have different training needs. Different people learn differently. So I mentioned this earlier. You want to engage as many senses as possible. So right now, I'm talking to you. So I'm engaging your auditory, right? You're also looking at my slide. So we're engaging visual, right? If we were in a physical classroom, I'd probably have index cards or post-it notes that you can hold, touch, and write on, right? We'll probably be going into breakout sessions where you're physically moving to a different part of the classroom and doing a huddle. So the more that you can engage the different senses, the better it is for the learning experience. Because not everyone learns visually, not everyone learns auditorily, and not everyone learns through tactile. So giving people different opportunities is very important. All right. So these are the different elements of training. You can do instructor-led, virtual, self-paced, documents review, simulations, and on-the-job training. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. The main thing is that you want to have diversity, right? Because one is not better than the other. It depends on the person doing the training. What works best for you? Some people learn better by self-paced, others instructor-led, others in a group, others individually. So you want to be able to accommodate for all of that. These are the different training options that we went through already. Training cost and schedule, the main idea here is to make sure that you take into account your schedule so that as you're training people, they're not out for critical times that you need them. And obviously, you don't have an unlimited budget, so you want to make sure that you send the people that need the most critical training for the project first. We talked about pairing and coaching already. Certifications, that's what you get after you complete, any of the classes. And for us right now, we're working on the PMP. Next year, Michelle and I will be offering the Agile certification, so look out for that. That's going to be our first class. It should be very exciting. And then there are shorter classes that have just been announced by PMI as of this week. There is an project management AI certification. So this is looking at how AI can help with projects. So I need to go through that training, get certified, so that hopefully next year I can provide that to you guys as well. So look out for that. Baseline and post-training assessments. Again, it's always good to do before the training assessment and then after to see how much the students have learned or attendees have learned. All right, ensure training occurs, awareness of stakeholders. And these are just common things to do, confirm registration, so on and so forth. Again, just reminders. All right, engage and support virtual teams. So nowadays, this isn't new to anyone, right? Virtual teams, we just call them teams because every team nowadays has a virtual component. Deliverables include the technology, assessment and calendars, tools, communication, variance analysis, okay, and project management powers. I have to look that one up. Aside from the roles and responsibilities, I don't know what powers really means. Doesn't show up again. All right, so for the technology, again, it has to be easy to use and people, have access to it. And again, if you're looking at virtual teams, make sure that, our VPN requirement, VPN required, and if so, can they get into that? So the hardest part of any collaboration technology is just getting on. And again, is it easy to use? Because if it's not easy to use, if it's cumbersome, people won't use it, right? All right. Virtual team needs, very similar to on-site team needs, shared goals, clear purpose, and clarity on roles and expectations. So engaging them, again, very similar, dynamics, transparency, accountability, and making sure that the means of communications works well for them. Do they prefer Teams messages? Do they prefer email? Do they prefer text? Do they prefer calls? Video conferencing? All right. This is just a reminder. Oh, go ahead. There's a question.
I think you skipped over PM powers. I think maybe that might be talking about like the different types of power and project management.
Yeah, let me take a quick look at that. Don't remember. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Let me see. Project management hours.
Yeah, I think there's like 5 of them.
Ah, so yes. I do have a slide, not today, but this talks about, and thank you, Curlin. This talks about the legitimate power, like formal authority, reward power, ability to give rewards and recognitions, punitive, which is something we try not to use and we don't really have a lot of flexibility. That's like punishment, kicking people off the team. Expert power is, being the subject matter expert, and referent power is, your influence on the team. So I do have a slide. Thank you, Carlin, for reminding me. But I do have a slide for the different types of power. Actually, no, I don't. That one was that table, I believe, was in version 6. Let me ping Michelle just to make sure. I remember seeing that in version 6.
I did not mean to interrupt you. And
No. You did not at all. I just forgot what it was for a second. Version 6. Thank you. And again, that's what it was. So it's the formal power, right? And the one that we use. Okay, so for the test, the PM power that we use the most is called influential power, because most of our team members don't report to us. We're not their department manager, right? We don't really have a lot to give them in terms of rewards aside from maybe a Starbucks card. Like, we can't give people promotions. Neither can we really punish people, which is a punitive power. So for the test, the most important power you have is influential power. Does that make sense?
yes.
So it is the team's, your ability to influence people that don't directly report to you. All right. We talked about the technologies, talked about the virtual teams. We talked about the engagement, and it's pretty similar. The only thing is making sure that the tool that you're using is easy to use and easy to access. I already talked about retrospectives, engagement assessments. So remember, day 1, we talked about the different types of engagements and also influence and different types of impact. Remember that stakeholder analysis that had impact, influence, power. So those are different types of stakeholder assessments or matrix that you have. All right. Communication plan. This includes how often are we going to meet, who's included in each meeting, how long will it be, right? Do we send communication beforehand? If so, what are they? When do we send out the agenda and when do we send out the minutes? And how extensive are those minutes? I had a PM before that would send out more than 10 pages of minutes every week. And I felt bad for her because she spent so much time on a weekend putting it together. And guess how many executives read 10 pages worth of minutes? They're just trying, they look at the first page. Is there something that you need my help with? If not, I'm moving on because they're busy. Calendar tools. Again, you want to capture when people are available, when they're not available. Now we have a lot of electronic tools to help us. And one of the things when you're looking at calendar that we talked about today was blackout dates. And does anyone remember what blackout dates are?
Dates where you don't You don't, oh, go ahead.
Holidays, sorry.
And the days
So not
before your,
holidays, so blackouts when you don't make any changes, because
Right, yeah.
yeah, we're about to go live. We're not making any changes at this point. Yeah. Variance analysis, we talked about this a lot, right? The variance is what was expected and what was completed, right? And what's the variance? Are we doing good or are we doing bad and we need to create a remediation? Virtual team best practices focus on shared commitments versus individual accomplishments. So rarely is a task on the project 100% done by one person. So the more that you can acknowledge, the shared effort, the better it is for everyone. Okay. So let us, I think this is a good place to stop. We'll stop right here. We'll finish all of this next week, and then we'll be able to catch up. So today is an example of, we went deep into the variance and index analysis. However, when that comes up later on, we'll be able to catch things up. So we'll complete module 1 next time, and we'll start and hopefully get through somewhere in the middle of module 2. So don't worry, we always finish the slides. We just go depending on where the class is and where the questions come up. So we have a minute left. As you guys remember from last time, I'd love to get 3 shares, things that you might have learned, things that you want us to add on or do differently, and then we'll call it a day. So 3 shares from anyone.
I liked your explanation of the estimates. It made it really easy to understand with like the examples that you had in place. I feel like this is the first time I've been able to attend, and I feel like after this class, you make it seem like it's going to be very simple, but I expect that that's not actually the case. So thank you.
No worries. Thanks, Melissa. Pete.
I think this is along the same lines. I learned a bunch of new calculations that I've heard before. I just never understood how they were actually calculated, and it was a lot more simple than I thought.
Awesome. Yes, I'm glad that I didn't scare you off with the variance and indices. And last one, and we'll call it a day.
I like the mentor thing coaching one, the one where you explained it.
Nice.
I like that. Yeah, the way you explained it, it is like, I feel like it's very easy. Like talking to people and asking you can be a mentor or something like that. I think I'm going to try this week. That's one.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, guys, we are at 4 o'clock here. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. And as you come up with suggestion thoughts throughout the week, please shoot them to myself and Michelle. We always hope to give you the best experience, and we're always improving. And last question, what is that called? Where today is better than yesterday and tomorrow is better than today.
Lessons learned.
CPI.
Continuous
Process
Improvement.
improvement. There we go. CPI. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you next Friday.
You appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good weekend.
You too.